What is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm back with the 404 Mark II again. Obviously I'm doing a lot of videos about this at the moment, but in this particular video I want to talk about some of the things that I don't necessarily like about this device. Now I know over the past few weeks I've been championing this unit quite a lot, and that's because I've been genuinely enjoying using it. I really like some of the updates that they've done, and yeah, I've been having a blast using this device, but there are things in here which I definitely don't like, and I genuinely think some of these things could be software bugs. I'm hoping they can be easily fixed via an update to the software, which is relatively to do. I've already done one myself, but I'm going to go through some of these things and show you guys what I don't like, and just hopefully to give you an idea of what to expect when the unit turns up, I guess, for you guys, that there's a few little things which may start to annoy you quite quickly. So the first point that I want to start with is about the buses, and this is kind of 2 points in one because both of these relate to buses. The first point that I want to make is buses in general I think is pretty convoluted. I don't really like the way it's set up. I think it's a bit tedious to get the effect stack that you want to use, especially when it comes to bus 3 and 4. So 1 and 2 is relatively straightforward. You can just use the bus effects. You've got bus 1 there, you can assign an effect to it and then assign it to the pads. Then you can easily change to bus 2. It doesn't flash when it's bus 1. It flashes when it's bus 2, so that's nice and straightforward. The annoying bit gets to when it's bus 3 and bus 4, so you have to go to Shift 16, which is effect settings, or EFX settings as it says there. And now this is where it gets complicated. So you can choose two different ways that bus 1 and 2 work. You can have them working in parallel, or you can have them running in series like this. So that's nice and easy to change, and that all makes sense. Then when we go to 3 and 4, this is where I really don't like this too much. So on this same screen here, you can see there's bus 1 and 2, and then there's slots for 3 and 4, and they are blank at the moment. And it says favorite bypassed. Now you can turn this on by using the value dial, but the problem is you have to choose from a predetermined favorite that you've built. So here you can see I'm in favorite 1. So in my favorite 1, I've got bypass and 303 vinyl sim. So basically that's just applying vinyl sim to everything that's running through the unit. And I haven't gone through all these yet, but there's up to 16 favorites that you can have. You have to use the favorites. You can't just choose your own effects to have on bus 3 and bus 4. Obviously you can customize these favorites and have the effects that you want, but if you're someone that's regularly wanting to change up your sound and experiment with different effects, this can get really annoying really quickly. So you have to scroll across to bus 3 using the right hand dial, the red dial for me. Here is where you click on it and then you have to assign an effect. Now, you get presented with this table so you can change the parameters. So you choose which one you want and then you can scroll down and change the parameters. They do actually apply to the dial, so that's useful. But yeah, it's just completely different to the way you actually use normal effects. So in 3, I've done 303 vinyl sim. Then I go across to 4, that's saying 303 vinyl sim as well. I can change that. But obviously I don't want to change this favorite, so I have to go back to 3. I don't want that on anymore, I've decided. And then we can go back all the way to the top menu again, or the very left tab, and I'm back to the configuration that I was before. But yeah, I really don't like that too much. I find it very annoying. I do like to spend quite a lot of time experimenting with my effects to get the right sounds for the beat. So this is a bit convoluted that you have to choose a favorite, and if the effects that you want to choose don't fit with your favorite, you either have to build a new one or you have to edit an existing one, and then you have to remember what that one was. So yeah, overall I really don't like how convoluted that is, and as well, to set 3 and 4 you have to go into that menu to turn them off and on as well, and that can get really annoying. You can forget that you've put it on because there's no actual visual way on the screen when you're just in here that you know that bus 3 and bus 4 are actually on. You just have to do it by ear. So I don't understand why they couldn't have just done 1, 2, 3 and 4, maybe made these a quarter and then you could just change them all on the fly here. I appreciate 3 and 4 are over the entire unit, but maybe they could just have a little indicator to say that these apply to the whole unit. I would have preferred that. Obviously, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here. I haven't actually done a full process of working out whether this will be better, but yeah, I just don't really like the way the buses are set up. I do use them, but I find them pretty tedious and a bit convoluted to use. So in combination with that as well, this is one of the most annoying things about the unit that I've found so far, especially if you're into resampling. So if I resample something and then I stop the recording, it automatically removes bus 1 and 2, the effects that you've applied to them. So I'll show you an example here. Let's say bus 1, I'm going to put in 404 vinyl sim, and then I'll switch to bus 2 and I'll use, well, it doesn't really matter for this, maybe I'll just use lo-fi. And then I'm going to go ahead and resample something. It doesn't even matter that these effects are applied or not applied to the pads. So I'll just quickly resample something here. I hit record, and then if I go into my buses now, you can see that they're both bypassed. It's taken them off. So you can imagine if you've got a resample workflow where you want to record one part of the beat and then immediately you want to do the next part of the beat, the effects have been taken off, so you have to go back into the bus effects and put them back on again. They are kind of in the memory of the device, so there you can see I just pressed MFX once on each of them and it chose the right effects. But if you've chosen effects that are up here, for example, so say bus 1 was isolator, that will be removed when you come back, and you may not remember which one it was, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know whether that's a bug with the system or what's going on there, but really don't like that, and it's hella frustrating when you're building up parts to a track using Resample. I really don't like that feature. Again, I don't know whether that is a bug with the software, but yeah, I would prefer it if the effects just stayed on, because if I've set them outside of Resample already, and then I resample and it takes them off, that doesn't make sense to me. Also, the same thing happens if you've got an effect on and you go into any of the sort of editing. So if I'm on 404 Vinyl Sim, I hit pad 1, and I go to start and end. There's no effect on that anymore. So, okay, maybe because you're processing something else, it needs to remove the effect while you're doing that. But I would like to be able to edit my samples with the effect on that I want, so that I can tell what's going on and get a full idea of what it's going to sound like. I could resample that and then do the editing, but it would be much better if the effect just stayed on while I was editing. I don't know if that's going to be possible with the software, but it's another bugbear that I have, and it would be nice if that could get fixed. Okay, the next thing is with chops. So if you've chopped up a sample and say you've decided that you want to repitch them all, you have to do them all manually. Now, even on a bank of like this, I've got these 4 samples, for example. They're all in a mute group. And if I go to change the pitch, you can see that all 4 of these are on 78, but I would have to actually manually go through and change all those if I want them to sound the same again, if I want them to all fit into the same beat like they have before. So if I just change this one, for example, to 103, go to these, they're still 78. So you have to go back and edit it manually. And there we go, it's back to 78 and we can come out of that mode again. I don't know, again, if these are possible with the software, but I imagine it would be pretty cool if you could somehow select all the pads that you wanted to change the pitch of and then just do them in one go, maybe using Remain. That would be super useful, and it'd really speed up workflow as well. I think one thing on top of that point is that also it can be a little bit sensitive changing these. So let's say, for example, we wanted to go from 78 to 56. You can see there, it's okay, but it kind of like can jump around a little bit because the dials are quite sensitive, and then obviously doing that and going along and having to do every single one individually, it can get tedious pretty fast. You can do shift as well to do finer tuning, but that only does the points. What I'd quite like to see is if you could hold a button and then you could go down in, say, steps of 10. So say you're on 80 and you wanted to go to 50, it could just go 80, 70, 60, 50. Again, I'm not sure on the practicalities of actually implementing that, but that is definitely one thing that does become a bit annoying, is you're constantly really finely tuning your samples to try and get them right. And obviously you have to go over all your chops to do it as well. You can't just do it in one go. Okay, one of the main things that I was really shocked about with this device when I started digging through the MFX is that they've got rid of subsonic. Now, subsonic was one of the most useful effects for me once I found out you could just generate sub notes with it. I was using that on a lot of my beats to just get that lo-fi sub hitting in the background, just to give my beats that little bit more depth. But now that it's gone on this, we're forced to sample bass notes, which is not the end of the world. And obviously we've got the chromatic mode as well, which makes things useful. But if we already had subsonic, why could we not just keep that and use that to generate bass notes like we used to be able to on the SX or sub notes? I would really like to see that introduced again. It would be amazing if they can add new effects with updates. Again, a lot of these ideas are hypothetical. I don't know whether they can be done via software updates, but certainly subsonic is going to be something that is really missed. I used to love using that and getting that pumpy bass feel in my beats. So yeah, that's one sorely missed, and I think it's a bit of an oversight on this release, but unfortunately, yeah, it's not in this device. A few people have already pointed out this one as well. There's no lo-fi button anymore. I think that was a really nice little feature that the older devices have. There is a lo-fi MFX, which is available by going to MFX 16 now, but it's not quite the same as the button. I used to really like how you could just put the button on and then add a bit of isolator to tone it down a bit. You can get similar results with that lo-fi effect, but it's just not quite the same as having that lo-fi button that we used to have. So that was a bit of a letdown as well. It would have been nice to have that lo-fi button. Obviously, this isn't something that's going to be able to be added because it's hardware related, but if these buttons, start and pitch and speed, were the same size as these two underneath, we could have easily fitted in Mark there and maybe another little button next to it, which would have been a lo-fi button. So I'm gutted to see that one go, because I used to use that a lot, especially on my samples, and I used to use that all the time on my kicks as well. You could get a really nice sound. If you were doing a kick pattern that didn't use too many kicks, having that nice sort of ring on it was really cool. So that one will definitely be sorely missed. I'm going to experiment more with the lo-fi effect, and maybe I can come up with the parameters to mimic the lo-fi button if I compare it with the SX at the same time. Maybe that could be a future video, and then if we can get those parameters locked in, then maybe it'll be okay. But yeah, I'm going to miss that lo-fi button. I really did enjoy having that on the SX. Okay, another one which you guys noticed straight away when I did the release of this video was that there's no internal mic on this anymore. Now, I used to use the internal mic for making voice notes, which was really, really useful. Say if you wanted to make the note of a tempo, or maybe the order of the chops that you were playing, so you could come back to a beat later and work on it. I used to make actual voice notes on my SP, and then I could listen back to it when I came back to my device, so that was super handy. It's also great for recording atmospheric noises, especially if you've got your batteries hooked up. You could be anywhere and just record some atmospheric noise. You could also get some really unique drum sounds and hits by using the internal mic as well. So that is definitely going to be one that's missed a lot by the community, I think. And yeah, again, a bit gutted that that's not been included. Obviously, we do have the input at the bottom, which is just a standard jack, and you can pick up mics for very cheap these days. This is something I've already mentioned in a previous video. If you just Google a cardioid microphone, you can get them for literally about $20 or £20 now. So it's not the end of the world. We can plug in a microphone, but it's not as discreet as just being able to turn on that internal mic and record some surroundings. So yeah, gutted about that one. That's another feature which will definitely be missed. Not only by myself, but I think the community is really going to miss that one. Okay, another thing that's really, really annoying me, now that this can be used as a kind of audio interface with the USB on the back, I've been using this all the time to listen to audio from a computer. So I don't use my old interface anymore. I just put external source on and listen to all the audio from my computer through this. I mean, a lot of the time I'm watching football, there's a screensaver that comes on after 10 minutes. That's the maximum length you can set. And it's just constantly flashing around, and it's really distracting and annoying. You can't turn it off. I wish you could just turn it off. It's such an oversight, especially as now this is a audio interface. So if I go into the settings, which is Shift and 13 to go into Utility, System, and we go to the General tab here, which is the furthest to the left, you can see screensaver time, 10 minutes. You can only set that to a minimum of 1 minute. Why can't you just set that to off there? I really wish you could set that to off. So I've got it set on the maximum. You get a choice of a couple as well. But yeah, really don't like that. So maybe I'm going to have to create a blank BMP image, which a bitmap image, and just have that as the screensaver. But that is a bit of a hassle. I don't understand why they just didn't do a setting to be able to turn the screensaver off, because when you're watching something on your screen and this thing is constantly flashing, and I'll include a clip of it to show you what it's like, it gets pretty distracting and pretty annoying, to be honest. Okay, so the last thing, and this isn't really too bad of a deal, but some of the shortcuts and things that used to be done on the SX have changed. Now, Roland should have appreciated that we've had the SX for so long, and then when the A came out, it was basically the same unit. So we've been on that unit for years and years and years. I think I've spent about 5 years on the SX, and then some of the key shortcuts have kind of changed. So for the first few days, maybe week, it was so frustrating getting used to the new shortcuts. So they've introduced a copy button now, so there's different ways of confirming things. There's little things like that which don't sound like a big deal, but obviously we've got these habits from the SX, and they're almost like muscle memory, some of them, because we've done them so many times and repeated the task so many times that you're almost just not even thinking about it, just being able to do things really quickly. So the fact they've changed a few key shortcuts is a bit annoying when you first get the device. You do quickly get used to them, but yeah, for those first couple of days, maybe a week, you're going to be banging your head against the wall a little bit, because you're going to have to relearn that muscle memory and figure out what all the shortcuts are. Okay, there's one more thing that I wanted to mention, and that is that if you are using the import feature and you're importing something from an SD card, this gets really frustrating. So I've got some drums here, and I need to go back and finish Lo-Fi Drums Volume 4, but as you can see, I've been testing it here. If you are scrolling through, you can listen to the sounds using the sub pad, which is really nice. But one thing that happens with this is if you try and preview a sound that's not supported, it doesn't work, obviously. You get a little message. I'll see if I can find one here. Here we go, unsupported file. So that's just popped up saying this .wav file is unsupported. Don't know why. I'm going to have to try and figure out what that's about. I've made another beat pack and it didn't have that problem. And now for some reason the sub pad doesn't preview any of the sounds on the SD card, so I can't figure out which ones they are to import them. So I'm hitting them, and there's no sound anymore because I've hit that unsupported file sound. And it's not even giving me the error warning on that unsupported file anymore. So I don't know what the hell the issue is with this. I think this is genuinely a software bug. You should be able to just hit an unsupported file and then the subpad should still work for the other samples that are on the SD card. And you can go to any folder on the SD card now. So say I go to a different one, hats here maybe. This isn't working for any of the sounds on the SD card. So I really don't know what's happened with this one. I think this could be a software related issue and hopefully that can be updated. But yeah, that's another annoying one. So I hit that and then the only way around this is to actually restart your unit and then it works again and you just have to hope you don't hit that unsupported file again. Obviously that unsupported file won't end up being included in my pack once I've finished it. I'll go through and figure out why that's happened and make sure that it doesn't happen. But that's something that can definitely happen, and if it means you have to reset your whole unit, then it's very frustrating. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope this was useful to you guys again. I hope you've been enjoying these videos about the Mark II. I did want to highlight these points because I think it's important to give you guys a balanced view of this device, and I want to share all my thoughts that I have on it as well. I've not been told by Roland in any way that I have to just say positive things about this device. Hopefully this video is evidence of that. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're new around here, and if you can hit the thumbs up, that helps out with the algorithms as well. It helps me get a few more views, so I'd very, very much appreciate that. I'll be back with more content very, very soon, so stay tuned for that. Keep making beats on whatever devices you are working on at the moment, and I'll see you all again soon, guys. Peace!